Hi everyone, today we are going to review a research article exploring EAP instructors' evaluation of classroom-based integrated essays. Here's the outline of today's presentation. I'm Solomon, and I will provide a theoretical review to establish the foundation of the research. I'll then discuss the research aims and gaps in the existing literature, which lead to the development of research questions. I'll also highlight the significance of this study and how it contributes to the field of EAP instruction. Yipan will discuss the methodology of the research and the results we obtained from it. Xiaoyu will then take us through the conclusion, limitation, and future directions, as well as some critiques. And lastly, we will discuss the question together. Firstly, let me give you some background on this study. In recent years, integrated writing tasks have become increasingly important in English for academic purpose context, as they require students to write source-based essays such as argumentative and cause and effect essays, which are essential for their transition to disciplinary courses. Integrated writing assessments are also commonly used for college admissions and placement, highlighting the need for students to master the skills required for their integrated writing. Second language writing researchers have conducted extensive research on the underlying skills required for integrated writing, including reading and linguistic modification of source information. However, little research has been done on how instructors evaluate student source integration in localized assessment contexts, and only a few studies have focused on the relationship between instructors' ratings and the rhetorical and linguistic resources L2 writers use in integrated writing tasks. To address these gaps, the current studies examine what EAP instructors consider when assessing L2 students' argumentative essays and the relationship between instructors' ratings and textual measures of source use. Next, let's take a look at this theoretical review. The article discussed the importance of understanding the subconstruct of source integration in the context of classroom-based integrated writing tests. The first subconstruct, introducing source ideas, requires writers to effectively convey their personal opinions while using source information. This involves the use of citation styles, patterns, reporting verbs, and cohesive features to create contents, validate propositions, and supply authoritative information. The second subconstruct, restructuring source language, involves linguistic revision and accurate representation of source ideas. Writers need to rely on their knowledge of grammar and vocabulary to avoid verbatim copying and patch writing. Lastly, responding to source information requires establishing logical connection between source ideas and personal opinions using discourse markers. This provides writers express their voice and create authorial identity, which contributes to successful integration of source content. Understanding this subconstruct is important for educators and researchers evaluating L2 writing performance in integrated writing tasks. It can inform the design of writing instruction assessment, as well as aid in the development of effective pedagogical approaches for source integration. The article emphasizes the need for future research in the evaluation of construct underlying source integration in educational assessment contexts, which can inform the development of more accurate and reliable measures of L2 writing performance. Moving on to the research aims and gaps, the authors explore the construct of source integration in assessing students' integrated writing essay. They examine the role of instructors in the process of assessment, development, and validation, as well as their involvement in test design and evaluation, which can inform the next step in writing instruction. The authors note that few studies have examined how teachers assess source integration and that previous research focused on single aspects of source integration rather than considering multiple aspects. To address this gap in the literature, this study adopts a mixed method approach to explore EAP instructors' interpretations of construct underlying source integration in students' writing. The authors aim to answer the research questions of what aspects of source use do EAP instructors orient to when evaluating source-based argumentative essays, and what is the relationship between EAP instructors' ratings and textual measures of source use. The findings of the study will contribute to a better understanding of classroom-based assessment of integrated writing tasks and support students' progression. The significance of this research lies in its potential to inform the development of assessment criteria, refinement of rubric descriptors, and development of learning materials which can support students' progression. Moreover, the study sheds light on the importance of instructors' involvement in test design and evaluation to inform pedagogical decision and helps instructors develop assessment literacy skills. The research also highlights the need for further investigation into the relationship between instructor ratings and textual measures of source use. The research also highlights the need for further investigation into the relationship between instructor ratings and textual measures of source use, which can provide useful insights into the classroom-based assessment of integrated writing tasks. Overall, the study offers valuable contribution to the understanding of source integration in students' writing and assessments.
Hey guys, my name is Yipan and welcome to the part 2. We will discuss methodology, analysis, and the results of the research. First, let's look at the methodology. 6 experienced EAP instructors from Canadian universities were recruited to read the integrated essays. They would first evaluate 2 sample argumentative essays written by undergraduate English L2 students and provided comments on them, and then they would evaluate 48 EAP argumentative essays. The 48 argumentative essays were sampled with scores below 2, between 2.5 and 4, and about 4. And we can see the information here from the table. Now let's look at the procedure. The EAP instructors met the first researcher online using Zoom for a 2-hour session. They evaluated 2 sample essays without using a rubric to elicit their general orientation to source integration. After evaluating the first essay, the instructors participated in a stimulated record interview and explained their thought process. The researcher introduced an analytic rubric and provided training using 2 more high and low scoring essays from the corpus to help the instructors familiarize themselves with the criteria. After the online stimulated record and rubric training sessions, the instructors evaluated all 48 essays using the rubric, providing comments on each student's performance for each rubric dimension. They were instructed to explain what guided their scoring decisions. Now let's move on to the analysis part. Data from stimulated record interviews, instructor ratings, and open-ended comments were triangulated to identify aspects of source use that EAP instructors orient to when evaluating student essays. To address the second research question, instructor ratings were obtained and reliability was checked using two-way mixed intra-class correlation coefficients. The instructor ratings were averaged to derive single mean scores, and students' essays were coded for aspects of source integration, including introducing source information, restructuring source information, and responding to them. And let's move on to the results. Here are 2 main results shown in the table. The first one is instructor ratings and score interpretations. 3 themes emerged from stimulated record interviews, instructor ratings, and open-ended comments while rating source-based argumentative essay. Using source information to support personal claims, incorporating source text language in students' own words, and representing source content accurately. The instructors gave a low content and organization score to essay with misrepresentation and commented that the students showed a lack of understanding of the content being referenced and that the source information was misrepresented and distorted. And the second research question asked about the relationship between instructor ratings and text-based measures of students' source use. The results showed that the more source ideas used, the lower the instructor ratings, and the more source ideas used to elaborate on personal opinions, the lower the instructor ratings. The findings suggest that instructors' perceptions, ratings, and text-based measures of student source integration are consistent. Students over-relying on sources received lower ratings, and instructors paid attention to whether source text language were modified when restructuring the source information.
The triangulation of data source reveals that EAP instructors oriented to two aspects: introducing and restructuring source information. In terms of introducing source information, the instructors reacted to the amount of source used. Instructors were critical of essays that lacked sufficient source information and had a negative reaction to source overuse. Although the instructors overall viewed source use positively, they considered over-reliance on source ideas as an inability to generate personal opinions. In addition to the quantity of source information, the instructors also considered the purpose for using source ideas. Students will guide higher content and organization scores to the essay, in which score ideas were used to elaborate on personal opinions rather than introduce a new topic. In the case of restructuring source information, instructors considered both linguistic modification and accurate representations of source ideas as important components of source integration. In terms of the linguistic revision of source text language, instructors regarded copying negatively. In contrast, essays with substantially modified paraphrase and summaries received higher ratings. Turning to the accuracy of presented source content, the data clearly show that content accuracy is important to EAP instructors when assessing integrated writings. Although the findings of this study provide evidence that EAP instructors consider introducing and restructuring source information as important constructs for source integration, there are some limitations. First, the conclusion may not generalize all EAP models. Therefore, additional studies are needed to determine how varying writing conditions and different essay types influence instructors' perceptions of source integration. Moreover, instructors' different assessment practice in their local context and the peer evaluating experience may affect their final scoring decisions. So it is important to replicate these results in different EAP contexts and with less experienced teachers to advance the knowledge and evaluate ESL or EFL program with different curriculum and assessment objectives. Considerable studies have examined raters' perception of task completion, rhetorical organization, content development, and so on. No research has explored how teachers assess source integration. This study was designed to overcome this research gap. However, this article also has some weaknesses. Firstly, the instrumentations in this research were not introduced sufficiently. For example, the data was selected from stimulated recall interview, and they also did not explain what stimulated interview is and why they choose this method. Secondly, there was no statistic evidence presented in tables, which makes the result unconvincing. Finally, there is no clear conclusion part. It seems that the parts of results interpretation and conclusion are intermingled. This is the end of our presentation. Now, we'd like to present a question to create a discussion. In your opinion, what aspects do you think the raters will concentrate on when evaluating the academic essay?